a wish by the Nigerian state. That is what I know. It is in the character of a jittery state to embark on this kind of journey, harassing people, intimidating people, in order to have the clear path of way to continue with their obnoxious policies. But I want to tell you that NLC will not be swayed. NLC will not be distracted. But more importantly, the Nigerian spirit that is inherent in all of us, we Nigerians. We Nigerians are not going to be broken.
So, welcome back. I guess you meant the Nigerian spirit inherent in Labour. Yes, indeed. We've got Elder Linus Ukamba, who is a former member of the Industrial Arbitration Panel. He joins us virtually this morning to just give his perspective on the arrest and release of the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program today. So, quite a lot has happened in the last couple of hours concerning the president of Nigeria Labour Congress. Eventually, some news coming through about what could have been the reason, but there were several speculations about how and what might have led to that arrest. So could you tell us from your perspective, perhaps also having considered or read up the reasons and having been released, what are your immediate thoughts about all that has happened so far?
Ajaero, as the president of the NRC, has negotiated or led negotiation against the government in good faith. In industrial relations, we have a concept we talk of called good faith negotiation. And even though there was an industrial action to force government to take the negotiation table, it was called off in good time. It was not called to insult the government or to belittle the government. It was just the correct thing to do so that negotiation could be taken seriously. What is happening now is, to me, is a clear indication that the government do not have any intention, even at the time of negotiation, to implement the pitiable 70,000 naira minimum wage, which they have agreed upon. Now, this arrest and release and arrest is only a clear indication to give a dog a bad name to hang it, put the leadership of NLC into fear, and then not implement the agreement as reached. And now go ahead and do other things that will keep the Nigerian workers under the foot of these so-called political leaders. Now, if you are negotiating with the government on an issue that is constitutional, the minimum wage is a constitutional issue, open to review every 5 years. And now, in just the first attempt to review the agreement, you are going to all these cowboy things. What has Ajaero done?
Well, why do you think? Why do you think those are the reasons? Because I mean, some persons even thought, perhaps look to the immediate or at least latest event, which had to do with the investigation over the end bad governance. But you seem to insist that that this is about the minimum wage negotiation. But many would have thought, we thought they all have come to an agreement on that minimum wage matter.
An agreement has been reached, has not been implemented. Various agreements or various understandings in the course of that agreement are being neglected. The price of fuel is increasing unchecked. Those who went on strike or who demonstrated over bad governance have no relationship with the NLC. If they have worked together, there's no reason why the NLC will not be on the streets too. NLC will not agree to go on strike for bad governance and stay at home. It's never done.
Okay, as somebody who's been there as well in Labour,
what the government is not new.
Can you speak to this impression? Something, look, it just comes across to a lot of people that they think that Labour consider themselves, well, not easily arrestable, even if you have done anything that requires you at least answering questions of security agencies. Is that the impression that you think, does that impression resonate with you?
Impressions, well, that's what they call one side of a story. If Ajaero has committed a crime, you don't need to go and lock him up for 1 week or 1 month before you know you can charge him to court. He's not above the law. So why the torture? Why the harassment? It's not new. Chiroma was our president at the time. And each time NLC threatens the government, he will be picked up and arrested, along with the general secretary. They will be locked up. And 1 week or 2 more, or 2 weeks after the lockup, the issue is dropped and then nothing else happens. Because we are now fighting for the release of our leaders. Ajaero is not the leader of the bad governance demonstration. If he is, he will not be ashamed to lead it. But the issue of minimum wage, the one that we have on the ground, has not been implemented. Let us see the government implementing it. Let us see the suffering reducing. If you, Ajaero, have committed an offense, be bold enough to sue him to court, charge him to court. The NLC might feel that, because it's not a criminal organization. NLC is not a criminal organization. NLC defends the workers who are by law allowed to join the NLC. It's a legal thing in Nigeria. Every institution is supposed to be unionized. That's what the law says. And people are going to run that trade union organization, not out of fear, not by being intimidated.
Well, Mr. Ukamba, sorry to cut in there, but, just so we can situate this, what we've gotten from our correspondent, at least, who has gotten this response from Mr. Joe Ajaero since his release, is that his passport was taken. Now, is it possible that as part of an investigation, he may have been told not to leave the country? And then, hearing that he was leaving, they went and picked him up at the airport. There's an ongoing investigation. Is it too far-fetched to say that the DSS or the security agencies are just doing their job here and not necessarily trying to intimidate the NLC?
My dear, this is Nigeria. And what I believe and what everybody knows is that the NLC president is not above the law. If he commits an offense, we should know what the charge is. You're investigating him, you raise the charge yourself. You decided that he's committed an offense. Let us know what the offense is. Let him be charged to court. But what I know is that this is an old playbook. The NLC is now being put under threat, under fear, so that this small window of hope that are opening for the working people is squelched. He has not done anything. If he has done anything wrong, let us know about it. You cannot be doing investigation that is mysterious, threatening people, taking over their passports. You don't take people's passport away without an order of the court. To take a citizen's passport from him, the matter must be in the court, and it is going to be an order of a judge to say surrender your passport to the register of the court. It's not something that DSS does on their own. It's not something that police does on their own. So you go and take the man's passport and you say you are investigating him when you have already come to a conclusion by your own charge and what do I call it, prosecution without the law. The passport belongs to him as a citizen of Nigeria. It's his own personal property. Now, if you are going to take it away from him, you must show good cause before a judge of a high court before you take the passport away from him. But taking away passport from somebody in Nigeria, if he's a criminal, he will cross the border and he will still go to wherever he wants to go. But this is a clear intimidation. It's been done before. It's not a new thing. What we are saying is that the government has better get themselves advised on how to handle trading number tax. They couldn't even handle a negotiation. How many spokespeople, how many people were in that hall? An agreement has reached, publish the agreement, and let the people who are supposed to implement them start implementing them. You've not implemented the agreement, you are harassing the NLC. NLC is not a criminal organization. is registered by the government of this country and has been in existence even before the independence of Nigeria. So what was this news showing something? People are
it's a very precarious situation in the sense that, you know, a lot of the things, Mr. Ukamba, there's a lot of things that we need to hear. It's an unfolding situation. It's a developing story. And as with other stories like this one, every day, sometimes every hour, you get to hear something new, some new explanation. Remember when they said the NLC house in Abuja was raided, and then we kept thinking, who is trying to shrink our civic space? Who is harassing labor? Only to find out that there is somebody there who was being investigated for crimes that include terrorism financing. Not that the person is guilty, but, you know, an investigation was ongoing. So it was a justified movement by the security agencies into that place. Will it be too far-fetched for us to say, let's hold on and not make any hasty decisions until we understand what's really going on with this investigation? Is that something you think about?
What is being investigated? The NLC building in Abuja is not owned by the NLC 100%. There are other people who also part owners of that building. NECA is part owner of that building. Why is the president of NECA not arrested?
I mean, there's another issue that many people are having. And you know, you have to understand that, you know, with these sorts of situations, we have to get the pulse of the Nigerian people. Another fear that people are expressing is, look, whenever something happens between security agencies and the NLC, everybody threatens to down tools, almost like you're punishing the Nigerian people for whatever happens to the NLC. We saw even yesterday, when Mr. Ajaero was picked up, there were conversations around how the electricity sector was going to shut down. People were threatening to shut down everywhere. In some way, doesn't that take away from the sympathy that you want from the Nigerian people who are looking at this situation and rooting for you?
Now, let's get this point very clear. I'm sorry. The government is a government of law. If a man has committed an offense, suspected to have committed an offense, he can be invited to the police. He can make a statement. But you don't start cutting off his freedom or denying him his freedom of movement without cause. Now, if people said, if they do that, we go on strike, that is just the reaction. Anybody will react to the type of approach the government is doing. If government feels that Ajaero has committed any offense, how long is it going to take them to find out what they are going to do? You don't start first by positioning him in the public eye as a criminal. You take away his passport, you arrest and detain him, and no charges is placed, and say you are investigating. How long is it going to take? If you have reason to believe he has committed an offense, you bring the charge to the court. You don't bring him before a magistrate. You bring him before a judge. And if the judge curtails on his right, everybody will see it. But what is this blatant midnight raid and that kind of thing? It doesn't impress anybody. It's not a government of truth. It's not a government by the rule of law. And every citizen in this country is supposed to feel safe enough for him to move up and down. If anybody is elected a president under the constitution of NLC, the constitution is approved by the Ministry of Labor, Office of the Registrar of Trade Union. It's not an illegal organization.
Where is the arbitration panel when you need them then?
You deal with also all due respect. He's a representative of all the Nigerian workers. You cannot harm him.
All right, comrade, we need to thank you, Mr. Linus Ukamba, former member, Industrial Arbitration Panel, also Labour as well as you have. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you very much for calling me. Please let them release Ajaero. He has not done them anything wrong.
Yeah, he's been released, so
on bail, and they have seized his passport.
So he can't travel yet.
He can't travel yet.
Oh dear.